after understanding the local law and how our local law interacts with the international environment, we read section 1, which talks about imposition of tax. Section 2 talks about chargeable income. Section 3 actually is a section that gave the GRA the taxing right. So in section 3, we explain that the assessable income is derived in the case of a resident person, the income from employment, business, and investments, irrespective of where the income is coming from, the GRA has a right to tax it. But in the case of non-resident person, there's a problem. You can only exercise your rights over such persons only if the income has a source in this country or the person conducted a permanent establishment business in this country. So we spend time trying to understand the source jurisdiction and then the resident jurisdiction. We talked about if we continue to hold on and say, yes, you are a resident, a citizen, other than a citizen who has a permanent home, and then we went and say physically present in Ghana for 183 days, then we say a resident who is temporary outside. If we hold on to this one, we are going to have a problem where people are going to have dual residence, and yet we will claim that we have a right over such income. So we now went into what we call the jurisdictional overlap. Jurisdictional overlap where two countries are going to have problems. Can you see my screen, please? If you can see, shout hi. Let me see.
Not yet. Okay.
Hi.
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Hi.
All right.
Yeah, it's
I can see.
on.
All right. So we now said if we hold on to those principles, we're going to have problems because we're going to have people who have dual residence or dual citizenship. So he's a citizen of Ghana and a citizen of UK. At the end of the day, if we keep on holding this in, there's going to be overlap. People are going to strangle such a taxpayer. And in the end, there will be double taxation. Or there's going to be a vacuum where somebody can plan his life in such a way that he will never be resident in any other country for a continuous 365 days. He will manage his affairs. And such people are always the rich people who don't want to pay any tax. So the best thing we can do is to enter into what? A tax treaty. And we said that a tax treaty is a special and it's a specially ratified agreement. This slide. Specially ratified agreement between two states. And we are saying that if it is between two countries, we call it bilateral treaty. If it is between two or more countries, then we call it multilateral, multi. Okay. And matters of treaty are constitutional based. We say it has a constitutional issue. And who can remember where we said constitution? Which part of the constitution did we read? It's very important to which aspect of the constitution did we read? Who can help us? I just want to ensure
75.
that good. Article 75. Thank you very much for remembering. Article 75 says that our president can cause to be entered into a treaty on behalf of the state. But for such a treaty to be effective, what must happen? It must be ratified by Parliament. And you know the votes. How many votes of members of Parliament? Derek, how many votes?
2/3.
2/3. Okay, 2/3 of members of Parliament. So what it means is that you can have treaties which have not been ratified by Parliament. Don't go and rely on them. They are not effective. So I think that is where we got to. And then We also talked about the fact that there are reasons, objectives of entering into a double taxation treaty. And I told you that this aspect, this objectives, it comes a lot in exams. So please, you need to know them. You should be able to explain that treaty is entered into to avoid double taxation. Treaty is entered into to prevent tax evasion. It also helps in allocating tax jurisdiction. So in a conflicting situation where one country is saying I have the right, another country is saying I also have the right, we need to enter into a treaty so that we can allocate the taxing right. We said that exchange of information is very, very critical. There has been, for the past 2 sittings, the examiner keeps asking questions on this exchange of information in one way or the other. Those of you who went to write recently, you can testify, isn't it? Even did it come in one way or the other? It came in some way, isn't it? Or you forgotten? Amen.
Hello, which one?
Exchange of information.
Yeah, it came.
And it came the last 2 sittings too. So exchange of information is very important. And then for investors, if you are an investor and you don't know how tax is going to treat you, you wouldn't go and pump your money into one country like that. So that is one of the reasons why double taxation is also entered into. I think that's where we go to, isn't it? So we read Article 75, which we said we've read it. And then, so now we want to go into the proper treaty. What is a treaty and how does a treaty look like? Please and please and please, for international taxation purposes.
Hello, sir. I'm here.
Okay, you are welcome. Why? You have been doing the same thing all over, but this time you forgot. What happened?
No, sir. Normally, when I go in, I see the join, but then this time around, I didn't see anything. I was struggling. Even when I send a hi, it's still
It
having
was
a
hiding.
problem.
Okay, don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's normal.
Okay.
So we said that if you want to look at a template to draft your treaty, in fact, if you were writing exams in the UK, you could have been asked to draft a treaty. You could have been asked to draft a treaty. So we are going to look at model tax treaty. Model tax treaty, and we expect that you know the articles and the provisions. And I told you that there are 3 main models. We have the UN model, the OECD model, and then the United States model. We are not going to worry ourselves looking at the US model. And like I said, a model is a template. So if you take the Ghana treaties that we have signed, all of them, they look like the same because it's a template. You just put in what you want within the 2 countries. So the UN one is for developing countries, whereas the OECD one is for developed countries. So the OECD one is the most influential and the most popular one that you can ever find. So I ask that you get the book so that we will start reading it. Okay. If you have the old one, the 2014 OECD model, please, you have to avoid using it because it has been updated. It was updated in 2017 and it has been enhanced like over 60%. It's been enhanced 60%. The old one was very, very small. The new one is quite big. So we'll be making use of the OECD one, but the UN one is also there. The UN and the OECD one are very similar. Just that the UN one has provisions that are favorable to developing countries. Okay, and like the name suggests, model tax convention for developing countries. So most of the references that we are going to make, we'll make it from the OECD one. But in exams, you see that on the past question, the examiner will say that it's either you make reference to the OECD one or the UN one. Each of them, he accepts them. Good. Any question at this moment for anyone who has joined for the first time? Mr. Penton, Andrew, you have any question?
Oh, it's fine. I'm following.
Okay. All right. All right. So since it is a template, we need to go and look at all the articles. And here, this is where I need your attention very well. So far, the OECD Model Tax Convention has about 31 articles. There are very, very important favorite articles that are important for a tax consultant of your type. But it doesn't mean the others are not important. Each of them, every one of them is important. But there are some of them that you just have to know them even if they wake you up. So these are the articles. And it has been arranged, it's the same. Like I said, it's a template. And we need to know if you take the Ghana, let's say you take Ghana UK tax treaty, it follows the same arrangement. And here is the case you are going to advise your clients who are from UK. Okay. You are going to advise your clients who are from UK. And so before we even look at the articles, let's go to the Revenue Administration Act. I remember we read the Constitution, but I think we skipped something very important. Let's go to the Revenue Administration Act, Section 98. Let's go and look at the relationship between the treaty and then the local law. Now that you know the local law. So if you can see my screen, I want someone to read for me. Fred, your voice was clearer. So read it for me. Section 98.
Okay, Section 98. Section 98 of the Act 915, International Arrangement. 1. To the extent that the terms of an international arrangement to which the Republic is a party are inconsistent with the provisions of a tax law, the terms of the international arrangement shall prevail over the provisions of the tax law.
Good.
2. Okay.
So let's understand this one first. Here is saying that to the extent that the international arrangement here, we are talking about the tax treaties. Okay. So to the extent that the tax treaties that Ghana has signed or Ghana is a party to is inconsistent with a tax law, here is talking about any of the tax laws in Ghana, the terms of the international arrangement shall prevail. What it means that in the legal order, the treaties supersedes what? The tax law. Okay. So if a tax treaty is saying the rate should be 10%, and then the Income Tax Act 896 is saying it should be 20%, the provisions of the tax treaty supersedes this one. So we go with this one. So we don't joke with treaty provisions because it is between two parties, two sovereign states, and it is a specially agreed agreement. Let me put it that way. It is a special agreement between the two parties who have themselves read it very well and they've signed. And treaty is like a bond. Okay, so you don't breach a bond simply like that. So you can't sign a treaty and tomorrow you come and do your tax law and then you change it and then try to do certain things that are inconsistent with the treaty. No, the treaty provisions will supersede the local law. Read the subsection 2 for us.
Subsection 2, 1 applies. Section 2, subsection 1 applies. A. Only to an international arrangement ratified by Parliament under Article 75 of the Constitution. And B, subject to subsection 5 and section 99.
Good. So only section, and I believe that we read section 75, isn't it? Just 1 minute. All right. So let's continue. So what he's saying is that it is only possible this order where tax treaty supersedes local law is only when Article 75 applies. And Article 75 is saying that Ghana, the government of Ghana can enter into a treaty, but then it must be ratified by Parliament. So that is the another provision that I wanted you to understand, that the treaties that we are going to consider, they have more power than the local laws. Good. So Fred, thank you very much. So now let us now proceed to the treaties that we are going to look at. So those of you who have bought the tax treaties, this book. Let me see this book. This one. So far you see we have about 14 of them. We have Ghana UK tax treaty, Ghana Denmark, Ghana Netherlands, Ghana Italy, Ghana South Africa, Ghana Belgium, Ghana Switzerland, Ghana France, Ghana Germany, Ghana Singapore, Ghana Czech Republic, Ghana Mauritius, Ghana Morocco. We have signed others recently which has not been ratified yet. So that one is still pending. So currently this is the book that we are going to refer to. The OECD one. It's quite big. It's about 651 pages. Okay. With commentaries. Okay. Now what I want you to understand is the treaties themselves are very small. The treaties themselves are just like 20 pages. But if you read the treaties themselves, you will not understand. It is the commentary that teaches you, and the exams is based on the commentary. Now, this is the United UN one. The UN one that I said that it is similar to the OECD one. The OECD one is more advanced, and you can see Model Tax Convention on Income and Capital. This is even the condensed version. This is the condensed version. Now, if you look at the original, the full volume one, it's about 2,400 pages or so. Yeah, 2,000 pages. It's about 2,000 pages. This is also between the UN one is between developing countries and developed countries. So we are not going to make reference. In fact, we will not be using this one. But if you have time, you can read this one. But most of the reference that we are going to do to the the OECD one. Good. So we now want to go through the articles one by one and pay attention to the names. So Article 1, these were taxes covered. Okay, taxes covered. And if you take our tax treaty that we have signed, you mostly see that it follows the same article. So we have persons covered, taxes covered, general definitions, residence, Article 4. This one and this one, permanent establishment. So you see, you are seeing these two main concepts coming back. Residence and permanent establishment coming back. They are the most favorable articles you can ever have. Okay? They are the most favorable articles you can ever have. You can't forget them. You simply have to know the provisions of Article 4 and Article 5. So I think that because they feature in almost all the exams, I'll mostly prefer to treat this Article 4 first. Okay. And I'll treat Article 5 second. Okay. If I'm unable to treat all the other ones, it's assumed that you know them. But we'll treat them anyway. Don't worry, we'll treat them. Okay. Then Article 6 talks about income from immovable property. Then 7, business profits of a permanent establishment. Then Article 8 is international transport. We go to Article 9, is associated enterprise. Here, we will not treat it now because this one has a book on its own. Okay. Article 9, we are going to treat it under transfer pricing. So I can say that Article 4, Article 5, and Article 9, they are your pillars. They are your pillars for this international taxation. Okay, because you can get like 2 questions from transfer pricing. Okay, and then you get a question from residents, and then a question from permanent establishment. So those are very important. Dividends, we'll treat them as well. Then interest, royalties, and then Article 13, capital gains. Mostly, if you take the Ghana treaties that we have signed from Article 1 to 13, they are similar or the same. So you don't have a problem. Okay. When a question comes and when you get a past question and you are reviewing them, you will notice that we require you to know the name of the article. So for example, if a question comes and you are solving, if you don't know that Article 4 is resident, then you have a problem. You see it? Then you have a problem. So please know the names of the articles. Article 14, independent services. Here, you notice that if you have the book, it appears that they've deleted this one from the OECD manual because they are saying that this one is similar to Article 7. But in our Ghana treaty that we have signed, we still have them pending. So we are not going to delete them. We will learn about it. Article 15 is income from employment. Article 16 is on directors' fees. Article 17 is on entertainment and sports. This thing came the last time. It came the last time, the last sitting. Article 18 is on pensions. 19 is on government services. 20 is on students. And then other income, 21. Capital, 22. These 2, double taxation relief, will come and learn them very well. There are some calculations there that we have to do. Non-discrimination has been coming frequently. Mutual agreement procedures has been coming. Exchange of information, Article 26, is a favorite article. Assistance in collecting taxes, diplomatic missions and consulates, and then restriction on entitlement to. This is new. Last sitting, I was expecting this thing, but it never came. So we're still monitoring to see. And then territorial. In fact, this and this are not the last one. 30, 31, 32 are not too, they are just for information. You see, entry into force and termination and all those things. So, guys, this is what we are going to do for the next 4 weeks. We are going to take article by article. What I sometimes will do is that, and it's been helping a lot. What I'll do is that we will, at a point, share the articles. When you get the books, you are going to read the article, the commentary, and summarize it, and then share with us. So when we are going for exams, it is your summary that we are going to read. And that summary, when it comes in exams, it will help us pass. At this point, any question before I proceed? So ask me a question, else I'll know that you are not following. Any question? Or I'm not online.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello,
Rosalind.
sir.
Or Rosalind.
Yes. So, is there a mnemonic or something that we can use to remember all articles? Because
Hey,
it's
Rosalind, I like
it's
that mnemonic. I wish it exists. There's nothing like that.
I believe she
But
can
trust
create
me,
it.
you will love it. You will know. You will know it because if I give you Article 17 to go and review, you, for example, you can do like 5. So you can do maybe directors, you can do employment, you can do entertainment. You see, it's all about trying to tax people. How many? You remember this musician who came to Ghana and he came to show his manhood on TV and other things, and I think he was also smoking or something. What's his name? He took some big money. He's an international whatever
Chris Brown.
artist.
Chris
Is it
Brown.
Chris? Yes, that guy
Is
when
it
he
why I
came to
said?
Ghana, he took so much money home. How did we tax him? Okay, so those are the international situations that you are going to find yourself. Shatawale, when he goes outside, he go and perform. The money that he brings, how do we tax him? He doesn't only get money from performance. So he gets money from the Shatter Movement T-shirts. That Shatter Movement is a brand. He gets money from iTunes. He uploads his music over there, and those guys are rich. Okay, sports, entertainment, and sports persons. You think that if we have Messi, Messi and Ronaldo in Ghana, the kind of money they are, don't you think our tax and we'll get money? So such persons, when people go and play World Cup, how do we tax them? The income. So these are the issues that we are going to discuss. So I don't think that you will find it difficult to remember them. Seriously, you won't find it difficult at all. Okay. So in fact, Rosalind, if I give you 20 minutes to chew this thing in your head, you do it more than necessary. And
I doubt.
you would do it. Trust me, you will do it. You do it more than necessary. From Article 1. And it's the same as from Article 1 to Article 13. If you take the Ghana Double Taxation Treaty that we have signed, all the other countries that we have signed, you notice that it's the same. It's a template. So it's the same. Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They all talk about the same sentence, the same paragraph. Just that the name changes. If it is Ghana, UK, we'll put if it's Ghana, UK, and we want to do Ghana, South Africa, we'll put Ghana, South Africa there. It's the same. So it's not difficult. Okay. It's not difficult at all. And the favorite articles will be Article 4 and Article 5, Article 17, and all the other ones. You understand? So any other question? Any other question? Oh, no other question.
No question. Please proceed.
We are okay. Please proceed.
Okay. Okay, so we can have limited treaties and we can have full treaties. And the last time I also posed a question that looking at this African continental trade that we want to do you, in your view, think that we should sign a treaty? And some of you say yes, we should sign a multilateral treaty. So we can have in some way, we can have limited treaties. Limited treaties means that the treaty is limited to some few items. Okay, so we can have only income from aircraft, or we can have income from estates, assuming that we see that okay, South Africans are coming into Ghana, or yeah, South Africans are in Ghana and they are mostly into estates. Then the two countries can come together. You know what? Let's do a tax treaty that covers only estates. Then everything that you see will be tax treaty on estate. That is just like that. So we can have limited treaty, but we can also have a comprehensive one. And most of the taxes that we have signed are comprehensive treaties. Again, please note that the treaties are only on income tax and capital. It doesn't cover VAT or customs. Okay, so we can have a comprehensive treaty which deals with a wider issues rather than the limited treaties. How many of us have the book, the OECD book? Let me just know. Fred, I know you came for one the last time. Who else?
Yeah.
Mr. Derek, you should have one, isn't it? Derek, you have one. Then the old guy, the returnees, Eben has one. Um, um, Ibrahim has one. I know for sure.
Simon,
Raymond has one. Raymond has one. Raymond, you have one.
Simon,
Rosalind, do you have one? Yeah, Eben.
Please, no, I'll see
on
you
a
later,
limited,
Fred.
No, Eben, I'm coming. Before
the
you ask the question, I just want to. Eben, I'm coming. I want to know those who don't have the book here. Then, if we need to
I
arrange,
don't have.
because if this lockdown,
Uh,
Eben,
hmm,
you don't
what do you
have.
say?
I
Derek.
have. I was going to ask
Derek,
a
you don't
question.
have one.
Hello, say. I don't have
Yeah,
one.
Nicholas.
I'm yet.
Nicholas, you two don't have one.
Say this for my side. Or I have one.
You said, yeah. You said you were going to get one from
I've
your
gotten
friend.
one from
Okay,
a friend. So
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why? You
Rosalind,
want to
you
collapse the
don't have
business?
one yet.
Yeah, I'll momo you.
No, I'm even looking at the how you get the listen, how you get it,
Traders
especially in
are
this lockdown. Come again.
this part traders are working.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
Then, guys,
Yeah,
if if you can, then maybe let's arrange either Friday, tomorrow or Saturday. If you can, I can send you my Google location. Then they will pick it. Because if we start, you need to get a book, or you need to, because I'm going to ask you to do the summaries for yourself. So you have to. So let's see how we can proceed. And Eben, let me hear you now. The limited treaties, yes.
On the limited and expensive. I think the last
Yeah.
statement you made suggests that even treaties that are based on the OECD model are to some extent limited.
Really?
And because you said it
Eh,
is covering only income tax and capital, income and capital gains.
eh,
So yeah,
yes, you can
if
only have
countries will want
you
to
can only have
like
drop
that,
you Eben, that jurisdictional overlap and jurisdictional vacuum and all those
mm,
things that we are trying to find a solution. See, now put yourself like assuming that you're a consultant for a country, and you see a
mm,
jurisdictional overlap or a jurisdictional vacuum.
mm,
Ordinarily, these two issues happens in income tax. It shouldn't
okay,
occur in VAT. Those
okay,
of you who have done VAT, those of you who did VAT or customs or any other indirect tax, you notice that those indirect
mm,
taxes are destination based. So there's nothing
okay,
like double taxation. So if you go to UK,
all right,
you go and buy some things and you are not consuming it at the UK, if you are not
mm-hmm.
consuming it in UK, even if you pay VAT, if you get to the airport and you are coming back, they refund your VAT to you. How many of you have experienced that? If you travel and you are
Yeah,
Yeah,
coming back,
I have.
you get your, isn't it? Yes. Oh, you don't do,
Yeah.
you don't know me. Unless what I buy is not plenty, but immediately I buy. No, I'll ask them that look, if I get to the airport, please, I'm going to collect my money. So they will do some, verification for you. Then they will get you. Then when you get to the airport, you give them all your receipts. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then they will refund all the VAT for you. If they don't have the cash there, they will put it on your debit card or your credit card. It will come.
Mm-hmm.
So you see,
That
there's
is
no
true.
double taxation in VAT. But for
Then,
income tax, it is quite difficult.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
we may not be correct if we say um it is limited. It's unlikely to be
Okay.
correct.
Okay. So treaties based on OECD models are comprehensive.
Yes. OECD,
Okay.
UN, and
Then
and um US one.
US.
What all I'm trying to say is that even based on the UK OECD model, we can make a choice. Okay, we can make a choice and say, okay, you know what? We want to do a treaty that covers only two items.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know.
and that
That
one
be the
you will find it
limited.
in the we can say let's do it. Let's do it just for this small issues. Then you won't have it in comprehensive exchange of information and no, you just a very limited treaty. It's possible, but hardly do you see this. Mostly they would like to have a comprehensive one which covers everything.
Okay.
So you will not be examined
Very much.
on this limited treaty. The exams will cover all the comprehensive ones. Okay. Good. Now let's look at the structure of or the classification of the treaties. If you get your book, that is how you are going to see it. So you see the application articles, which talks about this applies, this apply, this apply. So Article 1, which will be the taxes. Article 1 is persons covered. Okay, the people that it applies to, and this article is very, very important. You see it as if it is very small. This article works with Article 29. Please, ignore this one because this one has been updated. Okay, I'll find the lesson for you. This one is the new one. This one has been replaced. New. So Article 1 talks about the persons who are covered by the treaty. Mind you, the whole thing is that we have double residents, people who are double residents, because when you remember the way we define our residents for companies, we said that company under section 101, subsection 4, we said that if you're a company and you are registered under Act 992, you are a resident company. Is that not what we said? And then we said where the place of effective management is also in Ghana, also resident. So here we are going to deal with dual resident. That's the problem. So in Article 1, we are talking about who are the people who are affected by this. So we are talking about the residents of both contracting states. And when I say contracting state, they are the parties who are entering into the contract, the bond, or the treaty. So you see the application articles. Article 1, Article 2 will also talk about taxes covered. Okay. Article 30 will talk about entry into force. Article 31 talks about termination. So the application articles tells you who and who does it apply, what are the taxes that apply, and that sort. Now, if you are looking for definitions, if you want to look for definitions, the meaning of certain words or certain things that have been defined in that agreement, and like every agreement, there is a definition section. You see the general definitions and Article 3. Article 4 will give you everything that you need under a resident. If you really want to say what is a resident, you will need Article 4. Article 5 will tell you about permanent establishment. And please, let me emphasize again, these two articles, they come in a scenario question. Here, we want to test your understanding. Can you see a resident person, or can you see a situation and tell, oh, this person is resident or this person is not resident? Here you have defined your local law. In your mind, you know your local law. Section 101. You are familiar with it. You know who an individual resident is. You can say it's a citizen, blah, blah, blah. You can recite all the 4 conditions. You can tell who a resident company is under your local law. But now we are in the international environment. 2 countries. You have your resident definition. Me too, I have my resident definition. Let's come together and adopt one resident definition under Article 4 in the agreement that we are going to sign. And this agreement supersedes every local law. So that is Article 4. And that is why I keep emphasizing that you need to know the rules. The question will come in a scenario form. And it is expected that you'll be able to tell using the law or the rules to determine whether this, based on this information that you are giving me, I think company A is resident because place of effective management, blah, 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 like that. Then you can tell. Then you go to Article 5, which is also another big issue, which is the permanent establishment. The person may not be a resident person, but he has a permanent establishment. Everything that he does indicates that there is some permanency in his activities in Ghana or in the country. So Article 5 also comes in a scenario form. When it comes, the facts will be given to you. Will you be able to tell whether there is an existence of permanent establishment? Those are the things that we expect from you. When we start looking at the past questions, you will understand that these are, and they are very easy. They are easy to come out. If you know the provisions, just read it and apply it to the scenario question, and then you go. Good. We also said that one of the purposes or the reasons for entering into a double taxation is to prevent tax avoidance, isn't it? So we have some anti-avoidance provisions in the treaty. So if we want to enter into a treaty to prevent people from engaging in tax avoidance, then let's do what we call the anti-avoidance provisions in the treaty. Then it will prevent them. And the major one, which we are going to do, is what? Associated enterprise. This we call the transfer pricing. This one has a book. And when we get there, this book, this one, is what we are going to use. It's a book. The size is the same as this one. But for now, we are using the treaty. This one is also done, it was also produced by OECD. It has 10 chapters. We also use it. So Article 9 is an anti-avoidance provision. We will come there, do everything under Article 9 in the form of transfer pricing. It's very, very interesting. And if you know it, I bet you'll make money. Okay. Another anti-avoidance provision will be found under Article 26, exchange of information. Exchange of information, the purpose is that let the 2 countries exchange information so that if, for example, Derek is a UK citizen, but he also a Ghanaian citizen, Derek is supposed to file his returns in UK. Because UK, he cannot hide anything. Derek will disclose everything, all his properties, all his investment. If he's a resident in Ghana, he's supposed to disclose everything too. So that we'll be able to tell, because under Section 3 of our local law, irrespective of where the income is coming from, we will tax you. But this guy doesn't disclose all the information to Ghana because he knows that Ghana there, we can't find it out. Then we come under the Ghana UK double taxation treaty and enforce or invoke this such article. Can we exchange information on Derek for tax purposes so that if he's trying to engage in any tax avoidance, we will fish him out? So exchange of information is also tax avoidance provision, anti-avoidance provision. Then Article 27, assistance of collecting of tax. Maybe he's owing in Ghana, but he has some properties in UK. Can we come under this article and ask the UK government to sell the properties and, collect the tax for us. It's possible. Now, another objective for entering into the treaty, we said, is for what? The avoidance of double taxation. So we have to find how can we eliminate double taxation. So Article 23 will be dealing with it. And some of these articles, they exam. If you study the past question, they ask a lot. They keep asking them. Okay, so come and look at Article 23A, 23A, and 23B. We'll come and do it. We'll come and learn it in this. Sometimes there are calculations under this treaty, so we'll learn the
Hello, Francis.
Yes, sir.
Francis, can two
Yes.
contracting countries define their own articles?
Yes, they can, but how different would it be? You see, the OECD one was designed by specialists, consultants, tax experts. They've come and said, okay, we think that 31 or 32 articles covers most of the relevant things that you need. So are you saying that you want to bring your own article?
Yes, but following the articles that you are giving in your explanation, the DTA between Ghana and UK, the articles do not follow the same numbering system you are providing.
Correct, because this is a template, isn't it? So the numbering may not follow. You understand? Okay. And especially if you are reading, the Ghana UK one was signed in 1994, isn't it? Check the date for us. You have one. You see, we are talking about it. That article is too old, but we are still using it anyway. I mean, that treaty is old, but we are still using it anyway. Now look at the recent one. You have the treaty, so check for us. Look at Ghana, Morocco.
I have the old treaties. I have the old DTA. It's up to German. DTA. Yeah, I don't have the new DTAs.
Who has the new one? Fred, you have the new one. Check Ghana, Morocco, and let's see. Check Article 23 and let's see.
Article 23.
Yeah. Is it on elimination of double taxation? It's likely. Because the new ones that we are signing, we are making them follow the new trend. Ghana, Morocco is which date? I don't even know why we signed Ghana, Morocco. Morocco, there, what is there?
Oh, the tourism.
Tourism, eh? I see. So Ghana, Article 23 for Ghana, Morocco is which? What is the name of the article?
Which page is it?
We should always sign where there is something else.
Yeah, we should. I mean, look at US. Look at.
So the Morocco have seen something here. That's what they say.
Anyway, you are right. Who has the new? Who has the new treaty? Look at Ghana, Morocco for us. Go to the table of content and then look at Ghana, Morocco. It will take you there, and then you go to Article 23.
Ghana, Morocco. Is it the light blue one?
Come again.
The light blue.
No, the Ghana double tax.
It's the red one.
The red one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that is the Ghana tax treaties that we have signed. This one, some of them have been ratified by Parliament, others have not been ratified.
Daddy is teaching.
Is it? Charlie?
Yeah, 323 Ghana, Kingdom of Morocco and Republic of Ghana.
Look at Article 23. Is it on elimination of double taxation?
Article 23 is other income.
Article 23 is other income.
Yes, Article 24 is elimination of double taxation.
So you see, it has shifted. That's why I said that, Ibrahim, if you look at Article 1 to 13, I said it earlier that Article 1 to 13 is almost the same for all the treaties. Then from 14, it will shift a bit. But certainly, you are likely to see the heading in one of the numbers. So, Ibrahim, based on your question, what do you think from the names that we have mentioned so far? Do you think there is something that there is some element, or there is something that these articles, the names that we have mentioned, doesn't seek to address? Is there anything that it doesn't, that you think they've left out? So maybe we can add it and say Article 34. Right?
From all those that you mentioned, they've covered them. It's just that I
Nothing
was
I mean,
of the view that
if anything comes to your
they'll
mind, you can
follow.
say it to say, okay, I think say, yeah, this thing has not been tackled, so let's extend the number of articles. You can, anyone with that, anyone with that view, especially looking at these numbers that we have mentioned. Okay, Article 1 up to do you think we should go to Article 33?
No,
All
I
right.
think it's a lot more.
Yeah.
I think, like you said earlier, the tax experts have actually attempted to cover all areas that taxation matters. It is the emerging issues that are coming up, especially with this what do you
Correct.
call it?
Correct.
Cyber,
Cyber,
digital,
and
yeah.
digital. So I like the
Yes.
point that you made. We will come to an issue, and you notice that the definition that the expert gave under Article 5, permanent establishment, is difficult to tax. It's difficult to tag the digital.
To attach it to the digital, those who operate digitally.
Digital businesses. So I will share with you what we call the BEPS. Okay, it's one of the things that we need to consider. The base erosion and profit shifting. Google, Facebook, and all those things. If we come and learn permanent establishments, you will notice that the rules, it doesn't tackle them. So is it that we need to go back and amend the permanent establishment, or we should come to Article 30? We should come and say, okay, Article 33, taxation of digital businesses. Can we do that? If we can, then you bring out your justification for that. You understand? So we'll come and look at them, okay, when we start dealing with the articles by articles. So that is elimination of double taxation. Then you go to other miscellaneous provisions. For example, Article 24 will tell you that you don't need to discriminate. Non-discrimination. Diplomats have a different, they seem to have a different treatment, even in criminal matters. If you see that diplomat cars, that CD cars, and they hit you, if they are driving and they hit you, be careful. You can't easily take legal action against them. Okay, they are immune. There's so much immunities for them. So it applies also in taxes. There's some immunities.
What about the insurance?
Insurance. You mean the insurance? Are those cars are they insured even by the way?
I think they are.
Check for us. Me, I don't know whether they are insured. They have some. There's so much protection for them, man. And the reason why, and I think this is under international law, the reason why they are treated so differently is that they appear to be operating from their home country. It's like you can't apply your laws against them some way. So again, in taxation, to come and consider them under diplomats as well, and the mutual agreements. It gets to a point where sometimes these treaties have been enacted, okay, but there's nothing you can do. You just have to put the agreement down and go into a mutual agreement. Mutual agreement is where the two states sit down and say, look, you know what, let's go into an agreement and see how we can resolve this. Then we resolve it. So guys, that is how the classification has been done. Now let's look at, so these are the minor ones. Then we come to the distribution of the income. We call it the distributive articles. These are the one that give money. Okay. So how do we share the taxing rights? Okay. So from article 6, immovable property. There is this guy, Trasako. I hear he's not a Ghanaian, or he's a Ghanaian.
No, Ghanaian, it's Italian.
So that guy has dough, He has a lot of immovable property in Ghana.
People get
So if he's selling those properties, I am sure in Italy they will ask him to come and pay tax because he has made money. He's coming. If he is going back, you can't just go sell the money and take the money and go and sit in Italy and start shopping. No, you have to pay something. So in the case of immovable property, how do we tax it when there is that dual residence status? And if we tax it, how do we share the money? Can Ghana take some of the money and what do you call it? Italy also taking part of the money. So we have to look at how do we distribute the income that come from some of these transactions, business profits. And this business profit, it's related to Article 5. Okay. Article 5 is saying that we want to see whether you can see that there's a PE. If a PE exists, then you apply Article 7 to deal with a PE. Okay. So Article 5, all that you are going to be tested is scenario questions. Find out. Tell us, can you see a PE? Do you think there's a permanent establishment existing in Ghana? Yes or no? If it is yes, then we apply the rules under Article 7 to deal with it. Shipping, Article 7, Article 8, shipping. You see this ship, Scanship and all those big shipping companies. They come to Ghana and then they go. Shipping and all those shipping and aircraft, I think so, yeah, shipping and aircraft. So they come to Ghana, make money, Emirates. Master, you have to go. So aircraft and all those things, they come and make money. Do we tax them? Emirates. They are not. Emirates is I believe is from Dubai, isn't it? That's where they are. They just come and pick people and go. Can we tax them in Ghana? Okay, what about dividends? Okay, what about interest? What about royalties? What about capital gains? All of these things needs to be considered. And then independent personal services. And then independent personal services like consultants, consultants and self-employed. All of these things are considered. And then what about employees? What about directors? You have a company here, but you have directors who are managing the company from somewhere. You pay them directors' fees. And then sportsmen, how do we tax them? Pensions. Can we tax pensions? Government services. Students. Okay. Other income and capital. So all of these things, we are going to learn them into detail. And you should be able to tell whether it is taxable in Ghana or it is taxable in the other contracting states. Any question? Guys, if I'm online, any question?
You're online.
Okay, any question? Doesn't mean that you're not following me because I'm not hearing anything. Rosalind and Co.
You are teaching well, so we understand you.
Oh no, it's not. You should ask questions.
So we are okay.
Okay, sir.
If I put the questions down now, you will tell me that you are not okay. Okay.
I will say for now.
Okay.
Sir Francis.
Bring one.
Yes.
You know, I think some of the things that we read in the Income Tax Act,
Yeah.
some of them are still in this article. I
Yes.
don't know how
different the explanation in the article review from that of
Good.
the ones in the act.
Good.
So,
So now you have the act, your local law in your mind. We are now going to apply the international one. Okay. Then you make your decision. So I like the way you are looking at things. We will now come there and see how it works. Okay. So keep in mind your local law. And then let's come to a situation where UK is also having the same provisions. Now you have a jurisdictional overlap. So what we have to do is we need to go to what? The treaty. And then we apply the treaty rules. So that is where we are. And that is what international taxation is all about.
Okay, but at least what I wanted to know is that, assuming it is not international taxation, but maybe we are talking of either oil and gas or tax audit, then there happens to be a question, either on residence or permanent establishment or any of the items in the article. Then you don't use the explanation in the act, but rather you use the one in the article to apply.
No. If you are testing your understanding on local law, then international law, I mean, for example, oil and gas. Okay. Then there's no other country that is coming in. You are not going to have dual residence in such a situation. So then you go by our local law. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Now where we find ourselves is we are now doing international tax, and we have international transactions mixed with the local law. So we are now going to see what do we do. The only thing we can do is to go under a treaty, and the treaty now has to come in to resolve the problem. You get it? And in fact, even oil and gas will not even ask you questions about residents and all those things. Those questions will come under international taxation. Okay. But assuming you are, that's why we are saying that if you are advising your client, first check if there is any if the client is a non-resident person, then you are likely to be dealing with international tax matters. So after you have looked at the local law, you look at the treaties as well. Okay, so I have looked at the local law. What does the tax treaty? Is there any treaty between Ghana and that country? If there's a treaty between that Ghana and that country, then you need to go into the treaty, because under treaty and tax law, the tax treaty takes precedence over the local law. We read it, isn't it?
Yes. Okay.
So, okay. You wanted to ask another question?
No, that's okay by me.
Okay, so this is how we go by the tax treaty. This is in real life situation. If you are applying, the first step is that you determine whether the taxpayer falls within the scope of Article 1. Article 1 talks about persons covered. The people, who are the people covered. Fred, you have the Ghana Morocco Treaty. Read Article 1 for us.
Okay. There's a moment. Ghana Morocco Treaty. Ghana Morocco Treaty, Article 1.
What's the heading?
Persons covered. Persons
Good.
covered.
So you see, the first article says persons covered. Here is telling you about who are the people that this treaty applies. So persons covered. Read on.
This convention shall apply to persons who are residents of one or both of the contracting states.
Good. Simple. Push it there. So it applies to persons who are one or both. One or both. So if you are not one or both of the contracting states, so I can be one of the contracting states, either Ghana or Morocco. So if I'm a person who is a
Hello,
resident,
Francis.
yes.
So the definition of residence, will it be defined in the treaty, or the various contracting states will use their in-country's law?
No, it will be defined in the treaty and Article 4.
Article
Just a
4.
minute.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen it.
So when we get to Article 4, you see the meaning of resident. It will be similar to the one we've defined in our local law, but it will go beyond it. So the first thing is that look at the persons who are covered. And Fred just read that you must be a resident of one or both contracting states before this treaty can apply to you. Is that okay? Fred, continue.
Article 2.
Oh, you are done.
Taxes. Yes.
You see, so you see, just Rosalind, you see, this is just simple. So it's just one line. Me, I thought he has not even finished. Now he's now going to Article 2. So Article 1 is persons covered. But please, if you look at the commentary to the OECD, the commentary is what the volume is. That persons covered. A lot of people can abuse this one. So Article 1 is very important, because if you are not a resident person, it means that you cannot enjoy all the benefits under this treaty. Then Article 2 talks about taxes covered. We are not talking about. So in the application, first, you need to determine whether the taxpayer falls within the scope of Article 1. So if the taxpayer is not a resident of one of the contracting states, he is out. So you must confirm the taxpayer is a person, because Article 1, he used this article this convention shall apply to persons. So if you want to find the meaning of person under Article 3, you also see the meaning of persons. Okay. And then you must also confirm whether he's a resident, because Article 1 says it shall apply to persons who are residents. Now, the second thing is that you must confirm whether the DTA applies to taxes in accordance with Article 2. Read Article 2 and let's see.
Article 2. Taxes covered. This convention shall apply to taxes on income and capital gains imposed on behalf of a contracting state or of.
So he said income and capital gains.
Yes.
So if you are dealing with VAT, it's out. If you are dealing with customs, out. You have listed the taxes covered for you. Good. Then you confirm the DTA is still in force. Check if the DTA is in force. So Fred, go to Article 30 and let's see what is the last one. DTA, whether it's in force. The last one, I think 30. Is the DTA in force now? I don't think Morocco is in force. Go to 30. No, 31 should be termination. Oh, it's 31.
Yes. 31 is termination. 30 is entry into force.
Okay, so check whether the article is in force. The treaty is in force. It says what?
This convention shall be ratified, and the instrument of ratification shall be exchanged as soon as possible. 2. The convention shall enter into force upon the exchange of the instrument of ratification, and its provision shall have effect. A. In the case of Morocco, in respect of taxes withheld at source on amounts paid or credited on or after the first day of January of the calendar year following that in which this convention enters into force.
Good. So the question that we have to ask ourselves, is that has that ratification been exchanged? We can only find out from Parliament. or GRA. So you can, there's a department that deals with some of these things. You ask them, say, okay, has Parliament ratified this? There's an instrument of ratification where Parliament will vote in accordance with Article 75. They will vote and say, okay, it is hereby ratified. Then they will exchange it. They will send a copy to Morocco, and then one also like that. So immediately it is enforced. You will see it there. Okay. For the old ones that we have signed, they are already in force. So Ibrahim, check the Ghana Double Taxation Treaty. You have the old one. Or okay, Fred, you check still Fred. Check the Ghana Double
Yes.
Taxation Treaty, Ghana UK one. That is the first one.
That,
Ghana UK. I think that is the first one. Look at the heading,
that,
whether it is in force.
that
When was it entered?
I enforced
Read.
August 10th, 1994.
Good. So it when was it signed? When was it? Okay, read everything there. Let's see.
Treaty partners, Ghana, United Kingdom, signed January 20th, 1993.
Good. So it was signed. It was signed in 1993. It intended into force when?
1994, August 10th.
Good. So after the signing, it took like 1 year and over before it entered into force. So you need to confirm. If you don't confirm that it is into force, you go and commit the mistake that was committed in Kenya. In Kenya, there was a Supreme Court case that said that yes, there was a treaty, but the treaty had not been rectified, and so it was not in force. Okay. So if it was not in force, then you cannot apply it. Then finally, you confirm that the DTA provision takes effect under the domestic law. What is the relationship between the domestic law and then the treaty? You need to check those ones as well. Okay. Any question? Then the next step is that you need to apply the relevant definitions. So if it is resident, you need to go and check. If it is permanent establishment, you need to go and check it. Then 3 says that determine which of the substantive provisions apply. So is it business income? Is it royalties? Then you need to apply all those ones. All right, guys. Any question? Before I would like to take Article 4 first. Article 4 is my favorite. So I'll take Article 4 first. Any question? Oh, no question.
No question.
Okay. So if you have the book, the OECD book, read Article 4 for me.
OECD.
Yes. Go to Article 4. I'm projecting it, but I want you to read for me. Yeah.
Commentary on Article 4.
Good. Before you read a commentary, please read August 2016. Can you see my board? Read August 2016. Question 1 for me.
Okay.
This is how the questions come. Read it for me.
2016, August 2016, question 1. Release Gold Resources Limited is a Ghanaian public liability company which is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in South Africa. The company operates a gold mine in the Ashanti region of Ghana. The company has 5 directors. The chairman of the board of directors, who owns 40% of shares of Release Gold Ashanti Limited, and 2 other directors reside in South Africa. The company has an office in Johannesburg. The other 2 directors are resident in Ghana. The management and operational decision of the gold mine are taken at weekly meetings taken at the mine site by the two directors who are residents in Ghana. The Johannesburg office is managed by one of the directors. Who stays at the Goodmine and participates in the board proceedings by video call. Required. Advice Release Resource Limited, in which country it is a resident for tax purposes within the context of Ghana, South Africa double taxable, and the commentary on OECD model.
Sorry, Ghana. It should be Ghana South Africa Double Taxation Treaty.
Ghana South Africa Double Taxation Treaty, and the commentary on the OECD Model Convention on Income and Capital.
Good. So this is 21 marks. Okay.
That's an odd figure.
It's an odd figure.
20 marks.
Read this one too.
A lot.
Question.
Read this one too before we come. Then you understand how the questions will look like.
2030.
Can you see?
Yeah, I can see. Residence. Question 2. Muse Limited is incorporated in country A and listed on the stock exchange in country B. The board chairman of the company, who owns a substantial minority shares, lives in country B with 3 other directors. The company has a manufacturing plant in country A. The management decisions for operating the plant are made by 2 directors resident in country A who meet weekly. They however consult the other directors in country B on matters of exceptional importance. The board of directors meets once in a quarter at the company's office in country B. The chairman and 2 other directors attend the board meetings in person, and 1 director remains at the plant in country A and participates by telephone. Country A treats a company as resident if it is incorporated in country A. Country B treats a company as tax resident if its central management control is exercised in country B. Under Control B laws, Muse Limited is Control B laws. Under country B, sorry. Under country B laws, Muse Limited is regarded as a resident in country B. The tax treaty between country A and country B is the same as the OECD Model Tax Convention. Required. In accordance with OECD Model Convention on Income and Capital, advise Muse Limited, the country in which it is resident for tax purposes, and give reasons for your answers. 15 marks.
Yeah, so let's look at another one which deals with another type. We've looked at 2 each of them were talking about company. Look at this one.
February 2015. Question 1. Starkest Limited is a United Kingdom company. The company sent Mr. Billy Fry to work in its branch office in Accra, Ghana for 5 months from 1st June 2014 to 1st October 2014. During that time, Starkest Limited paid 20% of his salary to Swiss bank account, and the other 80% is paid to him in Ghana. He's provided with an apartment in Accra arranged by Starkest Limited. His salary was invoiced and charged to the branch in Accra. On completion of his assignment on the 1st October 2014 in Ghana, Mr. Billy Fry took his annual leave, during which he stayed in Accra to spend all his holidays. He left Accra on 18 December 2014 to London to resume his duties. Required. What are the tax implications of the activities of Mr. Billy Fry and his employers? 18 marks.
Good. So this one talks about how to determine the residence of an individual where 2 countries there's a treaty. But the first 2 questions that we read dealt with companies. So that is how you are going to see the questions appearing for you. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to our article 4. We will read it. We will not finish. Okay. We'll read it. We will not finish. Then we will leave and then come and continue the next time. Article 4.
Article 4. Article 4. Resident. For the purpose of this convention, the term resident of a contracting state means any person who, under the laws of that state, is liable to tax therein by reason of his domicile, residence, place of management, or other criterion of a similar nature, and also includes that state and any political subdivision or local authority thereof, as well as a recognized pension fund of that state. This term, however, does not include any person who is liable to tax in that state in respect only of income from sources in that state or capital situated therein.
These things you need to take your time so that you understand them better. So Article 4.1, in fact, Article 4 has 3 paragraphs, and I always want you to note the paragraph because each paragraph seeks to address one particular issue. Okay, so paragraph 1 is trying to define what a resident is. So under the law, if you are resident according to your domicile, according to your residence, according to your place of management, and you see, or any other criterion. So you see, under our law, all of these things exist. Your domicile is where they are domicile. When we say domicile is like residence, but they are different. This is English word there. Place of management. Did you see place of management in the company the meaning of resident for companies under our local law?
Yes.
Or any other criterion. So that is the initial definitions for Article 4. Now 4.2 and 4.3 are very important. Read the 4.2 and let's see.
4.2. Well, by reason of the provision of paragraph 1, an individual is a resident of both contracting states. Then
Fred, hold it there. So guys, you see, this is where we are having the problem now. So per our local law, we have our residents, and that is enough. But per the definition of residence, some people can have residents of both contracting states. Then we have to be careful. But look at 4.2 very well. 4.2 is trying to deal with individual. And so I've underlined it. I said, where by reason of the provisions of paragraph 1, that is the meaning of resident, an individual, okay, an individual is resident of both contracting states. How do we determine it? Then his status shall be determined as follows. So Rosalind is he's resident of both contracting states. Rosalind is an individual. She's resident of both contracting states. She's a resident of Ghana per our laws. And he's also resident of United Kingdom per UK laws. How do we determine her residence? So we are saying that her status shall be determined as follows. A. So we know now we are now applying what we call we are breaking the tie. Are you following me? The tiebreaker. Now, if there's a tie now, so we need to break the tie. So what do we use to break the tie? Under the agreement, she has residents of both two. So we first apply the A. Okay, the A says what? He shall be deemed to be go on.
To be a resident only of the state in which he has a permanent home available to him.
Good. So that's the first one. So if we see that you are a resident of both, the first criteria is that let's look for which of these two states that this person have a permanent home to him. If we're able to determine that, okay, he has a permanent home in Ghana, then he will be considered as what? Resident Ghanaian. Continue on.
If he has a permanent home available to him in both states, he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state with which his personal and economic relations are closer, center of vital interest.
Good. So even number one, we couldn't get him. He has permanent home in both countries. Now we have to go to his center of vital interest. So here we are talking about his family relations. Where is his wife or children? And all these things, we use it. So we look at his economic relations. Certainly we'll find one. Continue on.
B.
Francis, hello?
Yes.
What constitutes the economic relations?
Good. We'll come and look at the meaning of it. The economic relations here talk about where does your vital interest exist? Where do you normally perform your economic activities? Okay. So if it's your business, where are your businesses located? Do you understand it? So we are in a search for the resident status of this person who is resident of both contracting states. So your economic relations, you mostly do all your business deals in UK. Then we are likely to judge that you are a resident of UK. So you see the problem that can occur. And even the B is not enough. The A is not enough. Let's go to the B.
B. If the state in which he has a center of vital interest cannot be determined, or if he has not a permanent home available to him in that state, he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state in which he has an habitual abode.
Good. So we now go to your habitual abode. There are 365 days. Where did you normally, or where do you habitually reside? So we go to habitual abode. Still, it's possible that we may not find one. So go to the C.
If he has an habitual abode in both states or in neither of them, he shall be deemed to be a resident only of the state of which he is a national.
Good. So now we are coming to nationality. Okay. Sometimes we can, so nationality.
Hello,
or maybe
Francis.
Yes.
What if he has dual nationalities?
So D. Go to D.
If he is a national of both states or neither of them, the competent authorities of the contractor shall settle the question by mutual agreement.
Good. So you see now we are going to Article 26 or so. Mutual agreement. So if he has both nationals, both nationals, then the competent authorities, that is the two authorities, should sit down and find a way to resolve it. So that is how we deal with individuals. We will come to the commentary. The commentary is very, very interesting. In fact, we will even have to come and learn what is a permanent home. Okay. So for now, let's just read the content. We are going to details and look at the commentary. How many pages has it? Fred, go to the commentary to Article 4 and tell me how many pages.
Commentary to Article 4. Let me see.
The article itself is just like 2 pages, isn't it?
The article is just a page, then the commentary.
It's just a page. Good. So it's just a page, but the explanation behind this thing is the problem. For example, what do we mean by habitual abode? So continue. How many pages is there?
10 pages.
What? 10. 10.
Hey, who has joined us? The
I've been
voice
here all
looks
this while.
sounds like. Have you been here for long?
I've been here all this while.
Hey, deep him. Okay, so that is like 10 pages. So we need to start reading the commentary, because the commentary will tell you what we mean by habitual abode, what we mean by nationality, what we mean by economic center of vital interest. Please, Article 4.2 is only on individuals. Only on individuals. We move to Article 4.3. So Article 4.2 is only on individuals, and in exams, when a question comes and it's on individuals, you are expected to use Article 4.2. And we will give you the scenario question like I showed you, Mr. Billy Fry. You remember Mr. Billy Fry?
Yeah.
Mr. Billy Fry was which year? August.
20, no, I think February 2015.
February 2015. So Skylight Limited is a United Kingdom company. The company sent Mr. Billy Fry to work in its branch office in Accra for 5 months. Does he qualify to be a resident in Ghana? 5 months.
5 months.
Okay.
5 months. Isn't it more than the 183?
No. So count for 1st June. So June 2014 to October 2014. So June, how many days? 30.
30.
July 31.
31.
August 31.
31.
August, September 30, and then 31st August 31.
No,
so how many days? No, June, from 1st June to 31st August. It's good. 143. Is he resident yet? No, he's not resident yet, isn't it? Per section 101, he's not resident yet. He needs to be 183 days. Is that not it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Now, during the time, blah, 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 then he goes on. He said, on completion of his assignment on 31st October, Mr. Billy Fry took his annual leave and stayed on in Ghana to spend his holidays. He left in 18th December. So we come and continue. November 30, December 18th. So we count 18 in addition. So we already have 143, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
So if you add the 30 and 18, how many days do we get?
173 plus.
Was it 173?
No, it was 143. And
okay.
We are adding 30.
Okay, plus 30, 173 plus 18, 191.
That's more than.
So is he now resident?
Yes.
Good. So if he's a resident, we should treat him like a resident in Ghana. But if you look at the question and you just answer it straight away, then it means that you are ignoring the Ghana UK double taxation treaty, which is similar to the OECD Article 4 that we have read. Okay, if you go to Ghana UK treaty, it also has the same provisions as we have in the OECD one. So under that circumstance, Mr. Billy Fry needs to go under Article 4.2. So now he is resident of both contracting states.
Please, we can't see the screen.
Your line is breaking on.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
We can see the screen.
I can't see
okay.
the screen.
I'm coming. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So now that Mr. Billy Fry is resident in Ghana, per the counting of the days, what we need to do is that we need to now determine, because now he is now resident of both contracting states. And Article 4.2 is saying that where by reason of the meaning of residence, the person is resident of both contracting states. How do we determine his status? The first one, he's an individual in the first place. So you need to know that. He's not a company. Now, we need to first find where his permanent home will be. So from the facts, where do you think his permanent home is likely to be? It's likely to be in UK, isn't it? Because the guy is going back.
Yeah.
From the facts, we were told that he was just rented some apartment or whatever for him. So it's likely his permanent home is going to be in UK. That is not in doubt. Assuming we don't even have that one available, or assuming he also had a permanent home in Ghana, then we'll go to the second one. Look for his personal and economic relations where they are closer. That is the center of vital interest. So if you go there, since he's going back, we can presume that his family and everybody will be there. So that's likely to be his center of vital interest. Especially now, since the company brought him here. And even if we are unable to use this one to determine his status, we go to the next one. We look for his what? His habitual abode. It's likely that his habitual abode is going to be in UK because he just came here to spend his 5 months and then spend his holiday, and he's going back. And if we are unable to even use his habitual abode, then we go to the next one, which is what? His nationality. And it's likely to be a British national, at least from the fact given to us. So you don't even go to the D because you don't have any further challenge. But if you still have further challenges, then you go to where the two competent authorities must agree and say, you know what, let's settle the matter. So the two people will agree and then settle the matter. So that's how you're going to address that question. No, don't look at it only from your local law, because there is a treaty between Ghana and, because this is where we have jurisdictional overlaps. So if we don't do that, you see that Ghana is going to exert its power to tax this man. Then UK is also going to exert its power to tax him. Is this clear?
Francis?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clear. But I want to know, in answering this question, let's assume we were able to get all the ingredients to conclude that the person is a UK resident, maybe under the paragraph 2A. Are we supposed to still go ahead to paragraph 2B and 2C or up to
No. If you're able to raise it, that's fine. Because there's no doubt from the fact, there's no doubt. But you need to justify, you need to explain that this and this, you think from based on the fact his vital interest. But first of all, you need to apply your local law to determine the 183 days rules. You need to determine first whether the guy is resident of both contracting states. If it's both contracting states, then ordinarily he should have been taxed in Ghana. But he can apply under the treaty rules and come under Article 4.2 and say, yes, I am 183 days in Ghana, but based on the Ghana UK treaty, I want to be taxed in UK because ABCD, I am more connected to UK than Ghana. Please read. You need to read the commentary because this one is very simple. Sometimes we'll give you,
Francis,
even with a permanent home. With a permanent home, we can make the whole scenario very complex for you. How to even determine whether this home is a permanent home. There's a Canadian court case I'll share with you where it was difficult for the court to determine whether this place is their permanent home. They rented their home. So it's like it was their permanent home, all right, but they rented it out. So when they went to Canada, they could not stay there anymore. So under that circumstance, will you say it's his permanent home? You can't. They've rented it for the next 5 years. And mind you, the taxes, we are doing it per year of assessment. So the next 5 years, the guys couldn't go to their home. So you cannot say that that is a permanent home. All of these things are in the commentary You can't find it in
Hello,
the
Francis.
one-page article. Yes.
Please, did I hear you say that before we can apply the treaty to such an employee, he has to be resident for both contracting states?
Yes. Look at the two. The beginning, the provisions of the two. He said, where by reason of the provisions of paragraph 1, an individual is resident of both contracting states. It is only when both contracting state comes in before you can apply this one. So if he's not resident in your home country, you don't, assuming that he's not up to 183 days, you can't apply article
But
4.
if you look at the persons covered too, it also says that the agreement shall apply to persons who are residents of one or both of the contracting states.
Good. So in your local law, how do you tax? So in your local law, then in that case, he will not be a resident of your country, isn't it? Because it's not 183 days.
Yes. Yes.
So you cannot tax him as a resident.
Yes.
You understand? Because he doesn't. So automatically he's resident in UK. So when it comes to the taxation in Ghana,
law.
yes, per UK's law, you can only tax him as a non-resident person in your country. Then you apply the non-resident rules where it is sourced or what? Permanent establishment. So if the guy is working here in the country, then so you can only tax him as a non-resident. A non-resident, their tax rate is around 25%. Meanwhile, the resident persons is around 30%. So you can only tax him at that lower rate. But we don't, it is not the tax rate that we are interested in. We want, and Article 4, we want to find out, are you able to apply the treaty rules? That's all we want you to understand. We want you to know. Any question is 8, so end here.
Okay.
Any question? Redeemer, ask a question.
I want to leave. I have a meeting.
I'm here.
Ask a question. Yes.
I have another meeting, so I want to.
All right, Fred. So we log out, hang up, and then any question? We are ending. So any question?
Francis.
Yeah.
The paragraph 2D. That's if it is where they have to come into a mutual agreement. Does the article or the commentary gives which people can sit in? Is it going to be by arbitration, or if the two parties are not coming into an agreement, especially when the taxes are
mutual agreement is provided under Article 25. There's a separate article that we will be dealing with.
Okay.
So we'll come and look at mutual agreement procedure. What is the procedure? So under Article 25, we'll come and deal with it.
Okay.
All right, guys, please read the commentary. So the next time we meet, we are going to look at Article 4.3. But you need to finish reading the commentary. The commentary has 10 pages. If you need a book, let's find out. Let's see how we can arrange, and then you pick one. But you need to finish reading the article, the Article 4. You see the questions I showed you. They've been coming every day. Whether you like it or you don't like it, you're going to meet them. So let's meet again, and then we can talk about it. So if we close, please hang up, and then I can close the meeting room. And then we'll meet again and continue our discussion.
Okay, please, what is the next day? Okay, so just a quick one. Please, can you come out with a timetable so that we will know the kind of subject that we have?
Okay, it will come up with it.
Yeah. Okay.